to integrate and infuse in there in some minor way what you think about what they're doing. Be careful not to infuse in your reflection any direction or guidance of what they should be doing. It's just a reflection. It's just a reflection of what you see, exactly what you see, exactly how it exists in the moment. Shanae, you're fiddling your pen.
That was a mirror, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let me make sure.
What happened, Shanae, when I reflected that to you? What happened in your brain?
I looked directly down at my pen to see if I was really fiddling it. I didn't notice I was doing it, so I was down.
Then what happened in your brain once you saw you were fiddling it?
I kept doing it.
I noticed that. You made a choice to keep doing it. Now, there's no rules in this training that you can't fiddle your pen. It's okay. How you feel with all this attention on you right now?
It caught me off guard, so it was a little uncomfortable at first. Everyone just turned their head.
You're managing it well. Staying centered, staying really calm. Whatever's going on the inside of you, I can't really tell through any. This is a trip, isn't it? Yes, sir.
I had an experience recently where I was actually purposefully utilizing mirrors. I was helping my son with his homework, and we have a structure in place with his homework where he enjoys when I rate the sentences that he has to write. And what he came up with is everything above an 8, it's on a scale of 1 to 10, everything above the 8 he'll actually keep, and he'll keep that sentence. And it was coming down the backstretch. It was a kind of a long evening, and it was a sentence that he gave, and I rated it a 7. And he said, "I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna keep it." And what I reflected to him was, you're making some modifications to the standard that you set. And he said, "Okay," and he kept the sentence. But I wanted to be clear that I didn't want to encourage change. I didn't want to put anything on the mirror. I didn't want to infuse anything on the mirror.
Yes.
I wanted to just reflect to him that he made a modification to his standard and let him do what he chose to do with it. And he kept the sentence.
Yes. Now, I want to keep with that example because I think that's a beautiful example. You have to be careful. This is when your mirrors get cloudy. When you expect your client to do what you want them to do as a result of your mirror, and if they don't do it, you feel like your mirror was ineffective. And Johnny just gave a perfect example. So his son set a standard at 8. His son was getting tired at the end of the process. His dad rated his sentence a 7. And so his son says, "You know what, Dad, I'm going to keep the 7. So Dad says, "Hey, well, son, you set a standard at 8. I just want you to be clear that you are compromising your own standard. Yeah, I'm going to keep the 7. Now, as a dad, what you really want is for him to say, "You know what, Dad, you're right. Let's keep going until I can get an 8. But in that moment, 2 things happened. One, he became aware that this is what he was doing. 2, you got to observe where he is in his developmental process right now and how he relates to changing your standard based on how you're feeling, right? So you got some information about your son. You can hold that and okay, he's not quite where I would want him to be, because ultimately I would want him to hold his standard. I just saw here in enactment in the here and now that he has the capacity to compromise his standard, and so now I can be more intentional in doing things after this moment to continue to help him cultivate that, right? This is what's happening with him. In the moment, this is what we have to understand. Please understand this. most of us are most comfortable growing in private. It's very difficult to grow in the presence of others. This is how that looks. Sometimes someone can say something to us and it could hit home. And in the moment it hits so hard, it stills us. And we feel something welling up and we know we should be doing something about it, but it may look like I might break. I might start crying if I continue to pay attention to this. So I'm just going to be still. To the person observing me, it's like, wow, that didn't have any effect on me. And you just make your way through the rest of the day and you get in your car and you're driving home and it's all you can think about. You keep playing it over, playing it over, playing it over. You get home. You're just sitting on the couch watching dishes and it hits you again. And you're thinking about it and you're thinking about it. And you may process this thing for weeks. And make a decision privately within yourself, I'm going to change that 2 weeks later. But never go back and report to the person, this is what happened with you, and just move on with life. Ashley, Fadior.
Yes.
Mrs. Fadior, yes.
This just made me think about a conversation that we had with the team about if you're perceived as rude. And
You coming back to that, that's been working.
in the moment, yes, in the moment, I was like, I don't know if I totally agree with that, Ms. Teal. Like, whatever. Like, I was not trying to hear it. Like, no, nope. And the next day, well, that evening, I just kept thinking about it. Like, well, dang, well, maybe I am rude, or maybe there's something. You just hush. So I kept thinking about it. Even days afterward, I talked to my team. I talked to my husband. I was just like, it was just something that you said, and it stuck with me, and it made me have to reflect, like, really, like, am I rude? Like, what can I do differently? How can I change this? It's not what I want. I don't want to be perceived as rude. So it took that moment, and that was growth that I couldn't do in front of everybody else. So I was like, Mr. T, I'm not going to be rude about it, but, like, no, I don't agree with you. Like, whatever.
Yes.
And that's how I was feeling inside. Like, absolutely not. Nope,
And I
you're
would've
wrong.
been
Whatever.
okay with that. Yeah.
Nope, not.
Yeah.
But after I took time to think about it, and of course that's not the way I want to be perceived, so that growth had to happen, and it was a slow process, weeks after we had that conversation with the team. So
Yes.
God ain't through with me yet.
Great example. Yes.
That reminded me, like, when you're the person being reflected, you talk about the bathroom mirror. If you see like a black spot on your face in the mirror, the first thing you do is check and see if it's the mirror, not you. So when you're on the receiving end of a reflection, of course, the goal of this training is for us to make sure that we're clear mirrors, but if you're in the earlier stages of a relationship, you as the person being reflected want to make sure that the reflection that you're getting back is actually you.
Yes.
So that's another reason why
Very
it
good.
takes time,
Genuine.
because you can't just
Yeah.
take everything that's being presented to you as truth when you are ultimately the expert on yourself.
Yes.
So,
Very good point.
That was a really good.
Yes. Oh.
Especially if it's a new mirror, like maybe this is.
I know, it could still have that film on it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it could.
That would
Like
be a poor
a
mirror.
skinny mirror versus other mirrors.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, absolutely.
So that growth has to happen sometimes in private. So that's what I
Yes.
took from that.
Absolutely.
Like seeds. Seeds don't just grow out in the
That's
open.
right.
You have to plant them.
That's right.